Hi mates, I'm really excited. I've got some great news. I have just done an overhaul to my bike, so the next time you go on my website and you look for Steve's bundle, you're no longer going to see the D7 D4 setup. I still obviously endorse the D7, the D4 setup. It's probably the strongest, where it is, it's the best setup you can get for two pairs of auxiliary lights if you want great driving lights and fantastic full beam. But I've just changed all my setup. It's behind me. I'm going to show it to you very shortly. This has come about because of the new firmware upgrade that we now have on our Cansmart. If you haven't got that firmware upgrade, I did do a video, so I'll stick a link up here to that video. Download the latest firmware. I'll put a link in the description of this video as well, so you can see that firmware upgrade, and you can download it from here as well. Just got a delivery come. Right, sorry, someone just came to the door. So this is a new supply of, these. So you haven't got your Inov K2 yet. I've just got more stock in now. I normally order them in 30s, but because of COVID-19, and supply chain issues with most of the country, with stuff, they limit me to only ordering 5 every week. When they're gone, but I generally can get another 5 in the following week. Back to the new upgrade for Steve's bundle. So what I've done, I've taken the D4s off. I will show you. And I've swapped them for S4s, as I've been saying in previous videos. The D7s are remaining because they're just awesome. And I've had a lot of people contact me and asking me what the best setup is. Obviously, it's personal choice, but there's a term I hear a lot, and you see all the naysayers and the people criticising having Denali lights fitted as an extra, thinking it's not necessary. And you hear this same Mickey take, Christmas tree. And I actually get customers contacting me saying, I don't want my bike to look like a Christmas tree, but I also get pulled out a lot by other cars, and I want to be more noticeable on the road. So it's a very, very difficult balance to achieve, to not look like a Christmas tree, but to also be seen. Now, with the GSs, as standard, you just get your G light, you know, the little G light on the front of the headlight, which is very famous on the GS and the GS Adventure. But you don't get any OEM auxiliary spotlights, fog lights, like you do on the adventure bikes. So I feel that there's this common pattern of 3. You've got your main headlight, and then you've got your 2 side lights. And if you keep to that pattern, you're never going to be accused of looking like a Christmas tree, even if you have other lights on your bike, as long as they're not on. This is from my own personal experience of being a Denali dealer, having done lots of Denali lights on my bike, and just getting feedback when I go on bike rides, meet up with people, and get to cafes, coffee shops. When I used to have a pattern of 5, so I had 2 D4s and 2 DMs down on my front wheel, and the headlight, well then you've got 5 lights as running lights coming towards you, and yeah, you're going to get called a Christmas tree every now and then. But if you've got other lights on your bike and they're not turned on, you're not going to hear it so much. Well, I just don't hear it at all. If they're not on, you're not going to get many people saying the Christmas tree thing. You might get, you know, have you got enough lights on there, mate? you might get that if they're just looking at the lights turned off. For me, I've always had D4s, 2 D4s and my main headlight, and my D7s only come on as full beam. So stick as many lights as you want on your bike, as long as they are coming on for full beam. And when you've got full beam on, well, no one can actually see the front of your bike, because if they could, you'd be blinding them anyway, and they're probably going to run their car right into your bike because they can't see where they're going. So generally, your full beam shouldn't be on unless there's nothing in front of you, so you can see the way ahead. But with all the new software upgrades and stuff, we can now do this. We can have running lights that go off at night time, so they're just daytime running lights, but when it gets to dusk and the bike knows to switch the daytime running light into nighttime running lights, because your headlight changes, well then the lights on your bike will change as well. So you can program your daytime running lights to switch off, and then maybe a couple of S4s or D4s to come on when it gets darker. And then obviously your full beam, when you flick that on, you can have everything coming on. And it doesn't matter if people can see you. Well, they're not going to see you, but it's when you're on those rides with your mates and your buddies are behind you, and then they suddenly see this huge beam of light coming from the front of your bike leading away. And that's when they're going to be thinking, well, he doesn't look like a Christmas tree because we can't see the front of him, but look at the amount of light coming from the front of his bike. He can see for miles. It's like daylight in front of him. Because of the new firmware upgrade, getting back to my original point, this is what I've done to my bike. Take a look.
All my life I've barely spoken. Your words have been so broken. I've been under your hypnosis. Why did I sip that potion? I'm so done with holy ghosting. My birth, it is an omen. Lay me down up in the ocean until you see no motion. Right now I can barely focus. I'm showing no emotion. On your knees, show your devotion. My skin is black but golden. I'm not.
What I've done is I've changed my D4s and I've put S4s on here. I've kept the D7s where they are. I then, toying between DMs and D2s, I eventually went for the D2s because it's a similar size housing that you get with the BMW OEM fog lights. And then what I've done is I've changed the lens inside here to amber. So when I turn the bike on, remember, sticking to the pattern of 3, this is what happens. So, pattern of 3, I've got my nice DRL headlight. Obviously I've got it in amber because I've got the Lone Rider headlight guard. If I want to flick this down, I can have it back to white. If you haven't got this, obviously you're going to have the white G, or I normally call it the horseshoe, but it's called the G light. I didn't know that until the other day, until a customer told me. There's your main running light for daytime, and there's your running lights I've got set at 30% on my S4s. As soon as it gets to nighttime, well, we all know that this light changes to a more of a fuller beam, so we get a beam of dipped light down the road. And these I've still got at 30%. If I wanted to, I could change these to 50% without doing anything. You know, that's just in the initial program settings. I can have these running at 30% or 10% or 20% for daytime, and then for evening I can have them a bit brighter. Now I'm about to hit full beam, and you'll notice when I hit full beam, these will get brighter, and these will go to 100%. So everything will go to 100%, which gives you that. Just hold that on for a second. So that is my full beam, which is very, very bright. Well, what about these down here? Now, I could run them as running lights as well, but then we'd get this pattern of 5, although we'd have amber spots. Now, in this country, in United Kingdom, that would probably be illegal. Whereas in America, I know you'd probably be fine having amber running lights. What I've done with the new firmware upgrade, you can turn any of your lights into indicators, and you can have them as running lights as well. So I'm now going to indicate left, and you'll notice this goes off, but then this flashes, which gives us another indicator. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Now, if I want to, and I'll show you in a minute how I do this on the software, I can turn that into a 10% running light and make it flash when we indicate. But there's a reason why I haven't done this, because it does look great, but I'll explain why in a minute. Then the other side, I've got the light going off. I don't have to have it going off, but I've decided to have it going off because I've still got a good beam of light coming from here. And if I hit the flasher, you can see I can still flash whilst we're in that state of indicating. And it comes back again. Right, so turn it off for a second. Right, see the computer just here? I've got all the software on there so you can take a look exactly how I set this all up. Have you wondered how I've made this possible? Because if you think about it, the S4s are on 2 circuits. They have to be because each side go out, and the way it works is when you indicate, when you use your turn signal, that particular light goes off, that circuit switches off on that respective side. So you have to have 2 circuits to run a pair of lights where you want each side to go out independently when you are indicating. The D7s are on 1 circuit, that's a 3rd circuit. The D2s, the amber D2s, they're using up another 2 circuits because they're indicators. You can't have them running on the same. So that's 5 circuits now being used. I've then got a rear light. That's 6 circuits. If I want to put a dual rear light on, which also indicates, that would be 7 circuits. I've also got a horn, but as you know, if you've been following me, I've got that on a complete separate circuit out of the Cansmart. But if I wanted to, I could put that on, which would be an 8th circuit. How am I doing this? I've only got a Cansmart with 4 circuits. Can you guess what I've done? I've taken 2 Cansmarts and I've daisy chained them together. And you can do this too if you really want to do this. Now, whilst I've literally been making this video and actually doing these upgrades, I've been speaking to the technical buffs at Hex in South Africa. No, not Denali, Hex. Hex are the guys that make this stuff. Denali have just done the deal and they've made all the wonderful lights that we can put on our bike. But the whole Cansmart technology comes from Hex, and it actually says it on the side of the Cansmart. If you look, it says Hex. Even the software says Hex. Right, so let me show you the software, how I've got this all set up, because obviously I'm using 2 Cansmarts, and I'm not using 2 Gen 2 Cansmarts. I'm using a Gen 2 Cansmart and my old Gen 1 Cansmart. But you can use 2 Gen 2 Cansmarts. You can use 2 Gen 2 Cansmarts if you really want to, which would be better because it'd be more versatile. So if we cast our minds back to the Generation 1 Cansmart, well, we had one circuit which could go up to 20 amps, I think, 25 amps. And then you had the second circuit, which maxed out at 4 amps. So that was very limiting. And then you had your brake circuit, and then you had your horn circuit. And you couldn't put lights on those circuits. So I've got my S4s and my D2s on my Gen 2 Cansmart. Yeah, so think about that for a second. The Gen 2 has the latest firmware on there. You can't put that latest firmware on the Gen 1. So the Gen 2, I can make my S4s turn off on the respective sides when I indicate, and my D2s I can make indicate. So I have to put that on the Gen 2 Cansmart. And then I've got my horn on its own circuit completely all by itself. And then I've got my D7s on circuit 1 of the Gen 1 Cansmart. Are you keeping up? Take a look at the software and see what you think. So I've got the Cansmart plugged into my computer right now and put it on the big screen here. I'm going to record my screen as well so you can... So the bike is to my right, your left. And I've got the Cansmart Generation 2 plugged in. So I'll show you the wiring in a moment and you'll see that I've got Gen 2 Cansmart plugged in first to the bike, followed by the Gen 1, and then it goes back to the bike again. So it's just daisy chained around. And there's no harm in doing this. And I have actually been in touch, I think I mentioned earlier, been in touch with the main guys at Hex, told them what I'm doing. They said it's absolutely fine. There's only one glitch to actually doing this, which you need to be aware of. That once it's all set up, well, then it's all set up. And a lot of people have actually asked me, can I program their Cansmart before I dispatch it? And do you know what? I can do that for you if you want me to. So I need to offer it as a service because I don't think anyone's offering that. Pretty cool. For me to set up a Cansmart, I don't even need to stick on my bike. I can just plug it into this and just configure it all for you based on the setup that you want. So as soon as you plug it in, your B6 light will be doing exactly what you want it to be doing. Your D4s, your S4s, your D7s, it'll be the power that you've specified in correspondence with me, which is quite a nice service, isn't it? So yeah, I'll make the decision right now during this video that I'm now going to offer that. If you want me to set your Cansmart up for you so you haven't got to go through this software, which is very, very intuitive, very easy, I'll do it for you, no problem. At no charge either. Right, what am I doing? I'm getting too much sun. Right, so I've got it plugged into the Gen 2 Cansmart, and because when I plug it into the Gen 1 Cansmart, this will completely change to the Gen 1 platform, which is completely different. So the reason we've got this little icon up here in the corner is because the bike's not turned on. So I'm going to power the bike up again and you'll see that little icon disappear. So power the bike up, there it goes, that's now gone off. So this is now a live system we're watching, connected to the bike, complete live system. So, right, so you can see on the Gen 2 Cansmart, we've got a red circuit, a white circuit, a blue circuit, and a yellow circuit. And I've already set up the S4s, because I've already told you the S4s and the D2s are on the Gen 2 Cansmart. And I've set up left light 1 and right light 1 over here as my S4s. And because I've called it left light 1 and right light 1, if I click on right light 1 right now, you can see all the changes that I can make. I can say it's right light 2, excuse me. But if I call it right light 2, well then they won't become a pair in the software. So that's why it's left light 1 and right light 1. Right, so just going to cancel that. And you can see I've set my amps at 5 amps and I've set for each S4 because that's enough, because they will max absolutely fine within the 5 amps, so nothing's going to blow there. And then the blue circuit and the yellow circuit, well, they are the indicators. I've got left turn and right turn. It just so happens blue is on the left and yellow is on the right. You know, you make sure when you turn the bike on, make sure you got everything the right way round. So as I scroll down this page, and that is literally it as far as I can scroll, because I've made these selections at the top of the page. Auxiliary lights 1, high beam, I've got at 100%. You can change it if you want. Low beam, I've got at 30%. I can change it depending on day or night, what I want to do. I've got them turning off when I turn signal. I've got them strobing when I hit the horn. I've got them strobing when I flash the flasher 3 times, so you get the strobing effect without the horn. And I've also got them inverse flashing when my hazards are off, so they go flash on and off, as well as my hazards flashing on and off, not simultaneously, the opposite from simultaneously. Inverse, that's the word, yeah, inverse flashing. So as the indicators flash, the S4s turn off, and as the S4s come on, the indicators come back on again, so you get this really cool hazard feature, which I think is okay to do with the likes of S4s on running lights, but I wouldn't do that with D7s because it's just too bright. You're going to really annoy people. And the other good thing is, notice up here, it reminds you when you hit that, this is especially for people who are scared of this software. It is very, very simple because you've got all the color coding, red, blue, yellow and white. As you can see, auxiliary lights 1, the next stage down, is put together with red and white circuits, which is left light 1 and right light 1, the S4s, as we know when we wire it up. I've got modulation turned off. I've got 3-wire dimming mode turned on because these are 2.0 data dim lights, which is the cool stuff, basically. You can do the strobing, the dimming and everything. And then down here, very simple, because I selected turn signals for blue and yellow, it automatically generates a turn signal. Now, if I change these to something else, well, then you'll get a different menu. It won't have this menu at the bottom. So I've turned them off. Now, I'm going to turn them back on again to 10%. Now, if I take the camera back to me again, now, if I take the camera back out to the other side of the bike, you'll see that they have now come on as running lights. It's pretty cool, isn't it? I actually quite like that. I like that look. Maybe it's looking more like a Christmas tree. So I've got white baubles and the amber baubles. Now, when I indicate like this, the reason I haven't kept this like this is because although that's gone off and that's flashing over here, that's stayed on over there. And I just think that's going to add loads of confusion to drivers in the UK. That's just going to confuse people, and it's going to worry me if I'm approaching traffic from behind and I'm indicating left, and someone might look in their mirror. They might not look in their left mirror. They might not be able to see me in their main center mirror, and they might take one glance in their right-hand mirror and just see an amber glow at the front of my bike and thinking I'm going right, and then they suddenly pull left. So that's just too risky for me to have that staying on that side. In my opinion, I really strongly recommend you shouldn't do it anywhere in the world, actually. But it's there, it's a pretty cool feature. If you think you're safe doing that, it's great, but I'm not going to take the risk myself personally. So I'm going to turn that off. So we're going to turn the indicator off. As you can see, they come back on. It's a pretty cool running light though, isn't it? It's pretty cool. Now, you probably could, do you know what? You probably could turn it off. No, you can't turn it off. You can't make that other side turn off. No, you can't. I'll explain again shortly in a minute. So let me turn that running light now off, and then also with the flashing. So if I put that indicator back on again, you see it flashing down there, I can now, back to the screen, adjust the brightness of that indicator down to 10%. So it's a much dimmer indicator. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. I'm assuming that's working, so I can't see from where I'm standing. So that is basically what I've got set up on my Gen 2 Cansmart. That's the setup I've got. which I'm really, really pleased with. Now what we're going to do is unplug the Gen 2 Cansmart and plug in the Gen 1 Cansmart. So I'm going to do this now. I'm not going to show you the wiring just yet. I'm going to show you in a minute, because you know when you see like information overload visually, well then you're not going to listen to what I'm saying to you, because it's just like you're too busy looking at what's going on. So I'll show you this in a second. So I'm going to unplug this. Now we've got a little red triangle up in the right hand corner, and now I'm going to plug in the Gen 1 Cansmart. Right, and as you can see, it's just automatically changed. It's automatically changed to software which a lot of you will be familiar with if you've got a Gen 1 Cansmart. So what we got here is set 1. You don't have the choices like you have on Gen 2, so I can't go to the top and choose what lights are on what circuits. You just get circuit 1, circuit 2, horn and a brake light. So for circuit 1, I have got my D7s completely turned off, but I can turn them on right now. And hang on, night intensity, I think it's night time in here right now, and they're coming on. I can see that. I know you can't, but I've got them turned off. I've got 3-wire dimming, so I'm not going to turn this 2-wire dimming on at all. And I've got 100% for full beam all the time. I've got my D7 strobing for the horn. I've got, it doesn't matter about having them off when I turn signal. It's turned on, but I don't have them turned on as running lights. So I've got that. Actually, I can turn that off like that. Right, and then for auxiliary light set 2, well, I've got nothing plugged into these, so it's actually a free circuit on my Cansmart. So regardless of what it says there, it's programmed like that, but there's actually nothing plugged in, so it's not doing anything. Horn, I've disabled the horn so that there's another circuit coming off my Gen 1 Cansmart, which has got nothing plugged into it, because I've got my horn going through its own independent relay. But now I have that spare, I can take that relay off, which I probably will, because my daughter has a tiny little car, and she says her horn's not loud enough, so she'd like it to be a lot louder. So I'm probably going to, rather than crack into a brand new wiring harness, I'm going to use one off my bike and put a sound bomb on her tiny little car, and and then I'll plug my sound bomb back into my Gen 1 Cansmart. And maybe at a later date I'll change my Gen 1 Cansmart on here to a Gen 2, so I've got 2 Gen 2s on here. And then I've got my brake light down here, set at 10% intensity, and 60% for brake light, because 100% is just too friggin' bright. Yeah, so that's exactly what I've got set up on for my Gen 1 and Gen 2 Cansmart. Right, so I'm going to show you the wiring now. But before I do, when I spoke to Hex, the one thing that we both came up with that would be not a problem, but something you need to be aware of, is that both the Cansmarts, although they are independent and they both got their 30 amp fuse, and it will do no harm to your bike whatsoever. It's not drawing anywhere near enough power to do any problems to your bike. You know, you should be more worried about if you're running like heated jackets and suits. The amps, the draw that the Rallye stuff pull is nothing like in comparison with like heated things that you put in. So the actual thing with 2 Cansmarts going into the bike, you've got no issues there at all. So please do not worry about any overload. Your battery can definitely take it. So that's okay. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it to my own bike. As you can see, I've set all my software up on here. What you can do, as you know, if you've already got a Cansmart on your bike, you can make all the adjustments on the indicator cancel button and the whizzy wheel on the handlebar to dim your lights and turn off on and off your lights as well. Now, what you have to bear in mind is that the Cansmarts are sharing the same address. Is address the right word? They are both. So as soon as you hold down that cancel indicator button for 3 seconds, 4 seconds, however long it is, to turn off a set of lights, well then you're gonna turn off both auxiliary, both first pair of lights from both the first Cansmart and the second Cansmart are both going to turn off. In my situation, my S4s are on the first set of lights on the Gen 2 Cansmart, and my D7s are on the first circuit of the Gen 1 Cansmart. So if I hold down my turn signal button for 3 or 4 seconds to activate or deactivate those lights, well, they're both going to be activated and deactivated. If I hold my WYSI wheel out to the left for 3 or 4 seconds to activate dimming mode, same again. So as you've just seen on my software, my S4s are set to 30% brightness, but my D7s are set to 0% brightness. However, my full beam is set to 100% for both of them. So if I was in full beam and I push my WYSI wheel over to the left, well then we both know that the S4s and the D7s are actually synchronized. So that would actually be okay. But if I decided to start dimming in running light mode, well then my S4s, their starting position would be 30% and my D7s would be 0%. So as I start cranking it up to 50% for the S4s, my D7s would go to 20%. If I started scrolling all the way down to 0% on the S4s, well, as soon as I do my next turn the opposite way, they're both being in sync with each other at 10%. Does that make sense? So if you start messing around with the dimming with 2 Cansmarts, then you're going to start messing up with your initial settings that you made on the software when you set it up. So that's the only, it's not really a downside, it's just something to be aware of. If you want this functionality and you want these extra lights and you want all this extra stuff happening, all the new gadgets and toys that Denali are coming up with, but you haven't got the circuits to play with, this is what we've got to do. And it's the only way we can get around it. Now, here's another option you've got, which Hex came up with, is what if you wanted 2 different types of driving light modes? So you could literally, as he mentioned to me today, rather than daisy chain your Cansmarts, you can have 2 Cansmarts under the back of your bike, and you could have one Cansmart doing one set of things, and you could have another Cansmart doing another set of things. And you would then wire it up and configure it under your seat in the way that you know, label it all up, that you know that when you're going from road riding and all of a sudden you're going to be going off into the desert or going off-roading and you want a completely different type of set of lights for that kind of riding, well then you just take your back seat off, unplug that Cansmart and plug in the other Cansmart, and maybe pull out one of the D7 plugs and put it into the other Cansmart. So you can do all that. So all this is possible, but we just have to be aware of these certain, I'm not going to call it limitations, but exactly what I've just gone through with you, just things to be aware of. Right, let me show you what I've done to the back. Now, I've had to take the whole back off, and I don't normally do that. I normally thread everything through, but because there's even more wires going through, I've had to take the whole top off the back. Let's take a looky. This top cover that comes off, and it's 6 bolts. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you've got, sorry, not 6, it's 8 bolts. And then you've got the grab rail, the pillion grab rail, another 2 there and 2 at the back just there. And once that's off, it literally just lifts off. So when you see it like that, then it is easier to lay everything out. And I think if you're going to do a 2 Cansmart installation, it's not necessary to take that up for a 1 Cansmart, but 2 Cansmart, you need to do this. Here is my Gen 2 Cansmart. Just there, so I've placed that down the side, so that'll still be accessible via the hole, so I can still get to the USB ports. And here's the Gen 1 Cansmart there, which I probably will change for a Gen 2, but maybe not until I change my bike to a 1250 probably, because I don't see the need for it right now. Unfortunately, I can't sell any brand new Gen 1 Cansmarts because there's none available anymore. So if you're going to do this, you've got to buy 2 Gen 2 Cansmarts. All right, so this is where your Cansmart plugs into here. And then some people get this mixed up because on some bikes you find, I think it's more of the RTs, but you see this hidden back quite a bit underneath the entrance hole, and some people get this confused for this one. And unfortunately, they're polarized the same way. I haven't checked with this one, but I know they are polarized from what I've heard from some customers in the same way. So it's very important you get it into this box here. So I've got my Gen 2 Cansmart plugged into here. Now, if I wanted to unplug all of this right now, if I unplug this and then take this one here, right, that is now back to OEM standard. Right, that is now back to standard out the factory. The Cansmarts are completely disconnected, although they are connected to the battery power. So this is my daisy chain. That's the start of it, and that's the end of it. So this goes to the Gen 2 Cansmart here. It then comes out of here. There it is. Goes to the Gen 1 Cansmart, comes back out the other end, and then we connect them together. Obviously, we don't connect these two together because we have to put the bike into the circuit. So you unplug the plug going into here, you plug that into, hang on, you plug that into the Gen 2 Cansmart, and you plug that into the Gen 2 Cansmart, coming out the back of it. So there we have it. Now, one thing I have noticed when I did this is that we're all used to seeing the little green light flashing on the Cansmart. When you power the bike up, both of the lights go solid green, as they should do. But when it's in standby, when the ignition is off and it's just sitting there, just in standby, only, the way I've got mine wired up, only my Gen 2 Cansmart has the little green flashing light in standby. The Gen 1 does nothing at all. I don't know if that's anything to be concerned of. I have spoken to Hex about all of this and got it all clarified, so you know, this is not going to do any damage to our bikes, and you know, absolutely won't. There's nothing to worry about because everything works fine. The wires coming off the Gen 2 Cansmart, as I explained, I've put some tape, some Velcro tape around my S4, so I know that my white circuit and my red circuit, white circuit and red circuit are my S4s, and then I've got my yellow and my blue going to my D2s as my indicators. And so I've just tucked that down there, and then over here, so that's it on the Gen 2, and over here on the Gen 1, I've got my D7s plugged in, and that's it. Yeah, that's it. And then as you can see, there's my horn circuit, nothing plugged into it at all. Oh, sorry, and then my rear brake, my B6 rear brake, I've got that plugged into my Gen 1 because there's no space on the Gen 2. So I've got that coming into here, it goes round, through here, under there, and then powers up my B6 on my rear license plate. That is it. So when I now put the top back on, that'll all fit nice and neat. I've also left some slack on these cables, so if I ever wanted to pull this Cansmart out, I can, and I can still pull some of the slack from these cables up through, so I don't actually have to take the whole top off, which is a really, really good thing as well. So that's it, guys. I'm really excited to have brought you this video today because I didn't know that this is possible to daisy chain two Cansmarts together. So there's a few of you who have already asked me if this is possible. That's given me the idea for this video. But yeah, here it is. It is doable. So I'm going to put a link down below to the bundles where we can double it up. Or actually, no, what I'm going to do is I need to do loads of updates to our website so it's a lot easier to navigate. I don't get the time because I'm so busy just selling and installing. I must actually take this opportunity. If there's anything that you want and you can't see, please drop me a line, steve@abikething.com. Ask me because I'm probably most likely going to have it here in stock. I just haven't got it listed on my website yet. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to adjust the website that if you want to add an extra Cansmart to your order, well then you can, and I will discount that respectively. Don't know what that's going to be just yet, but I'll make it very obvious that if you want to buy a double Cansmart order, that then the second Cansmart is obviously going to be a little bit cheaper than the first one. Now, the Cansmarts are pretty much discounted to as much as I can get them to, based on the fact you're buying it in a bundle. If you buy a bundle, and then you add on a Cansmart, then I'll give you a coupon code, which will all be very obvious on the website, or I'll make it just so it works all by itself. It'll make sense. I haven't done it yet, but by the time this video is out, you'll be able to add a second Cansmart to a bundle with other bits and pieces and get that second Cansmart at a slightly cheaper price. You know, I can't wait to see the people, the orders started coming in on this, and the people, because I know there are people out there, and also know there's people who are not out there. I've got people, my own personal friends, who thinks it's crazy. Why would anyone want to put 2 Cansmarts on their bike? Why isn't one set of D4s enough? Because, hey, we're all different. We all have different wants and needs in our motorcycles. I'm going to leave you on that note, and I'm sorry it's such a long video, but it's good if this is what you want on your bike. It's good, and I've got more videos coming soon. So, well, the lockdown restrictions have changed, so if you're out riding your bike and you're behind bars, do it safely, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.
All my life I've barely spoken. Your words have been so broken. I've been under your hypnosis. Why did I sip that potion? I'm so done with holy ghosting. My birth, it is an omen. Lay me down up in the ocean until you see no motion. Right now I can barely focus. I'm showing no emotion. On your knees, show your devotion. My skin is black but golden. I'm not here for bragging, boasting. Ain't lying, I've been chosen. Mind is burning, heart's exploding. This is my magnum opus. Are you with me now? Said, are you with me now? Ain't felt this good in a while.